So let's start with the news that broke this morning at 4 a.m. Netflix has won the streaming war through acquisition and is going to take Time Warner, but not the part that doesn't suck. I mean, not the part that sucks. They're getting HBO, they're getting the series, they're getting the intellectual properties, and all that Discovery worthless cable slop is going to be spun off as another next to worthless company. Maybe it will be merged with the cable assets of Paramount in the end. But so they're going to do it post the split of Warner Brothers and Discovery and or the cable assets. So and that'll be like 2027 or 2028. And meanwhile, of course, there are massive regulatory hurdles. What do you think,
Yeah,
guys?
so Charlie, not only did that make news in Hollywood where you are, but across the planet where I am right now, it made massive news. So in the middle of the night here, my phone was kind of exploding with everybody asking me questions about it. And this morning, now into the evening, I was explaining to all the people that I'm spending time with here, asking questions about the price tag, right? Which is now, I guess, above 70 billion.
83 billion.
And they're trying to sort of grasp that. And I said, well, try to give some perspective. I said, try and look at it through the lens of any asset. Like, let's take a high end sports car, right? It's only worth what someone is willing to pay for it. So, right now, someone is willing to pay a premium to own that asset and to bring that asset into their world. And today that's Netflix. It's going to have to potentially jump through some hurdles. And my ex, sort of roost at Paramount apparently is not happy about this. And they're already kicking up some dust around the regulatory side of it, and that the bidding dynamic of this wasn't quite as fair as they would have liked because they're on the wrong side of it, right? Which is kind of interesting. So here we are, right? And this is where it sits right now. So it'll be interesting, Vince, from your perspective, wherever you are in the world, what you're getting out of this right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a ongoing shifting landscape of the entertainment media, the traditional media, industry, and just a sign of the times, right? I mean, it's like feels a nail in the coffin to theaters for sure, right? Like one more major nail in the coffin to IRL, being together in spaces, watching movies together. I just want to make sure that Dune 3 has an awesome theatrical IMAX release and runs for a while, and that can be at least an event and it doesn't go straight to stream. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, of course, we're somewhat in that media and entertainment space at Meow Wolf, thinking about what does the value of IP mean? What does the value of traditional entertainment mean these days? I mean, I think in some ways it's an interesting signal there, just how powerful Netflix is and consolidation that's going on.
Well, I think tech industries get a fantastic boost because their valuation is based on a much higher multiple because of their future value as opposed to their present value. So Netflix is like, I don't know, I could look it up. They're, much higher multiple valuation than Warner Brothers, which is a beaten down stock burdened with debt. So,
Although it's popped up
inevitable.
since.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
So, anyway, I think it's really interesting. We're in the middle of a huge shift in the entertainment business toward the tech business. And it's inevitable that the platforms, which have these high valuations, I mean, Disney is 10% the value of Apple. And
Yes.
it would add to the value of Apple stock. So it really isn't $83 billion in cash. It's $83 billion of speculative hedge fund and investor money in a public company.
Like I said,
So
whatever
this is just
someone's willing to
taking
pay for it.
all these old school companies are being vacuumed up by the new, titans. I mean, I think Facebook or Meta is going to make some big acquisitions in Hollywood too.
I think,
Um,
the piece that we don't often talk about, I've just been thinking about this so much sitting and listen, watching content or trying to watch content on streaming platforms at this point is just quality. Like I was sitting there in my living room the other day thinking like, we don't have events in the same way. Like we're never going to see a Game of Thrones again. Like even some of these episodics that try to be events like Pluribus, for instance, or something. It's like, it just falls short because
the
there's not a willingness
monoculture
to,
that
yeah,
has been obliterated because we're
totally.
no longer one to many. We went from one to many to one, and now we're machine to one.
Totally. And there's not going to be a willingness to invest in content at that level anymore. And HBO, it's like, it feels like, oh man, we had one group that was like willing to go to this high quality. And it's like, what happens now? So
Don't you think
that's the unfortunate part of it.
The scarcity in entertainment has gone away.
Oh
right?
gosh.
That's what used to drive those things is scarcity, and you could command a premium price for it. Whereas today, I think that's part of the reason that the production values, particularly on streaming, may be less than they were 20 years ago. There was more scarcity then.
Of course. Yeah.
So, okay, moving on. This is from very relevant to us, Ted. Meta is going to cut 30% of Reality Labs.
Yeah,
I predicted this, and I said it was going to drive their stock up.
and at the same time, they just picked up the design head from Apple is now moving over to Meta.
Yeah, what is going on in Silicon Valley, Ted? It's like Hollywood musical chairs up there.
Well, when tech companies become entertainment companies, guess what? They start to mirror entertainment companies. They mirror the choices that entertainment companies make. They mirror the picks that entertainment companies make in terms of talent acquisitions. And I actually think it's quite smart for Meta to start honing their design chops now that they've got a little bit of market traction around mixed reality glasses that still are not really getting to the end game of the desirability factor, right? So they bring in a heavy hitter from Apple to help them on that front, which will be interesting to see what the next couple of years provide on that front. We'll see.
So, let's get to Vince, but I'll hit just a couple of other news stories from a high level, because it looks like next week, Google's going to finally give us a better look at Android XR and addition to Muhen. And I think we're going to be kind of buried in this at CES, Ted.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that ecosystem has sort of a muscle that we haven't really seen being flexed yet, right? And the year 2026 is going to be the year that Android XR, along with Qualcomm, their hardware partner for a lot of this stuff under the hood, will flex that muscle, and we'll see, do they get consumer adoption or not? It's an unknown for all of us, but they're putting a lot of capital and a lot of human resources against it. So we'll see.
Well, the same thing is going on in China. Alibaba just introduced something called the Quark AI glasses. Probably we'll get a look at it. There's a display version and a non-display version. And of course, it's running, through their AI. And, they're pimping the same features, translation, navigation, visual search. So we'll see. I mean, it's going to be a worldwide test.
Yeah. People are trying, The goal set is if you don't try, you're never going to win, right? If you do try, you may lose, but you at least have a chance to win. So here we are. This is what 2026 is going to bring us.
I think there's a sense of not wanting to be left behind, like mobile, right? And that led to a duopoly, although these things tend to, over time, become duopolies. But, people, are afraid, Meta's afraid of there being two operating systems, and they're going to have to make peace with one of them. So, they're trying to strike their own path. And I think that's got a lot to do with why they're reducing the money they're spending on Reality Labs, because they're spending so much on AI right now.